everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Tamlyn and this is Sewn on the Tyne, and I'm here today with a pattern review for you of the York Pinafore by Helen's Closet. So if you watched my previous Shop My Stash video where I gave 3 options of fabrics and patterns that I've owned for a while but have never got around to making, the winning pattern and fabric combination was the Helen's Closet York Pinafore in this wonderful pomegranate print needle cord, which is by Dashwood Studios, and I purchased it from Sew Me Sunshine last year. I think actually she has some in at the moment, so it is available. I'll link it down below. So as you can see, I've now made the York Pinafore and I thought I would talk to you a little bit about it, talk about some of the things that I did while I was making it and my thoughts on the pattern. Just before we go on, the other things that I'm wearing, this is a Tilly and the Buttons Freya top from the Stretch book, made in a glittery ribbed navy jersey which I got from First for Fabrics quite a while ago. And I'm also wearing, you probably won't be able to see from here, but some gorgeous purple button earrings which I received as part of my swap share sew bundle little parcel from Helen, who is on YouTube as Beautiful Bows and so much more. She's my swap partner and she sent me a lovely little bundle of goodies including some amazing purple button earrings, so I was very thrilled to receive those. So I was really pleased that the York Pinafore won in the vote because it is the perfect autumnal make as we move into these colder months. I love the fabric, it's such gorgeous colours, it's got that lovely detail, and I've wanted to make the York Pinafore for so long, but as I mentioned in that last video, what put me off was all of the bias binding, which was ridiculous really because it gives such a beautiful finish to a garment, but at the time I thought it was quite a lot of faff. But that was early on in my sewing journey when I was after quick, easy, satisfying makes that wouldn't take an awful lot of effort. I purchased my bias binding from First for Fabrics and it's actually quite unique, unusual. I haven't seen it before anyway, and it's like a faux suede navy bias binding. So I mean on the camera it's just going to look like a standard double fold bias binding, but it's faux suede and it feels absolutely beautiful, and I just thought that would match really well with the navy background of the fabric, and because the fabric is needle cord so it has that sort of texture similar to the suede, then I thought it would be a good combination. You do need quite a lot, you need 4 meters of this, and it was priced at £1.70 a metre, so it's more pricey than your standard bias binding, but it just feels really lovely, so I think it's worth it. So the pattern that I've got, the Helen's Closet York Pinafore, it's a PDF, all of her patterns are PDFs, and I bought it a while ago when Helen was using her original sizing. My pattern booklet, which I printed out, the pattern came in sizes extra small to XXL. Well, since then, over the past few months, Helen has redone her sizing and increased her range of sizing. So now if you purchase the PDF on her website, it's actually a new pattern that's been graded in sizes 0 to 30. So it's a huge size range, which is really fantastic. But I've still got the original pattern because I fall within those sizes, so that's fine. I didn't need to change over to the new version. So as you can see on the pattern cover, there are 2 versions to the York Pinafore. I have made this version, which is version A. It's a knee-length dress with a scoop neckline and it's got the 2 big patch pockets on the sides, on the hips. Then there's also version B, which has got a higher neckline, it's a shorter cut of dress, and it's got like a kangaroo pocket on the front. It is described as a beginner pattern and I would completely agree with that. It's really straightforward. And also I'm going to show you some of the elements of the booklet. Helen's instructions are absolutely fantastic. I could not fault them. They're so detailed, there's lots of diagrams, there's tips for less confident and more confident sewists, so it's really in-depth and it takes you through the whole process, which is really fantastic. So in the booklet it's described as a playful addition to your handmade wardrobe that is easy to layer over tank tops for the summer or turtlenecks and leggings for colder weather. So you can see I've got mine with a bit of a turtleneck today and I've got tights on to keep my legs warm. It's a modern take on a classic pinafore dress with a cocoon shape and 2 views, as I've already mentioned. And then the fabric recommendations for this, there's quite a lot of different fabrics you can make it in, and that would give you a different look. So medium to heavyweight woven fabrics, such as cotton twill, denim, wool, linen, corduroy and canvas. Crisp lightweight fabrics such as cotton and lightweight linen would be used for the summer or when it's warmer. And then you could use drapier fabrics as well to give a softer look, so something like a viscose, a rayon crepe, a wool crepe, a tencel twill would give you a softer and less structured pinafore. So when I looked at the size chart and the measurements, I was falling between a medium and a large. So medium for bust and hip, and then large for waist. But then looking at the finished garment measurements, I fell completely within the medium size. There's no finished garment measurement for the bust because it's completely open here. So there's no need for it to be particularly fitted at that point. It's really open and roomy. It is a pattern that's designed with ease because you do need to be able to pull it over your head, there's no fastenings or anything, and it's designed to be layered over other things. Obviously I think you'd be a bit cold if you were to wear this just on its own. Yeah, it is a layering piece, so there is supposed to be enough ease for those purposes. So in terms of fabric requirements, it, for a size medium, version A, says that I would have needed 1.5 metres of 150 wide fabric, and actually I only had a metre and I got this out absolutely no problem at all. So just to bear in mind, I know that pattern designers usually do allow extra within their fabric requirements given, but I got this out of a metre rather than the 1.5 that it recommends. It also says below that you need to add an extra 0.5 metres for a directional print, but this isn't a directional print, it's just scattered everywhere, so that was fine. However, although it's not directional, it does have a nap, so you couldn't just change the direction of this fabric around because it very much needs to have that smooth, soft feeling going down. If I was to sort of rub my fingers the other way, it doesn't feel nice at all. So obviously it wouldn't feel nice, but also it can sometimes look a different colour if you were to put it upside down, like the other direction. It can change the actual appearance, the colour of it. So there are only 3 pattern pieces that you need, which is a front bodice, a back bodice and a pocket. I say bodice, but like front dress, back dress, and then the pocket, whichever pocket you are choosing. Both the front and the back dress are cut on the fold, and then if you're doing the patch pockets, obviously you'll need 2 of those. The kangaroo pocket, you just need 1. In the booklet it goes through all sorts of things like how to grade between sizes, how to add and remove if you're lengthening or shortening, talks about making a muslin, it talks about looking at the fit of your finished garments, which shows you how to assess the fit. So if you did want to make a 12 version first, it then tells you, look at these different elements and this might be the fit issue if you've got one. That's really fantastic, I think. So obviously with it being a PDF, you do need to print it out or get it printed from a copy shop. I had just printed mine on A4 at home, so I just had to assemble mine, but there's not many pieces to assemble together, so it was quite quick. Helen also talked you through how to make your own bias binding, so if you were wanting to make your own, maybe in a matching fabric, then she talks you through how to do that as well, which is really great. So in terms of the actual making of the pinafore then, the first step is to stay stitch. So stay stitching is where you sew a line of stitching around any curved areas. So I sewed a line of stitching from shoulder down to meet in the middle of the front piece, the same on the back, and also on the armholes, and that is to prevent any stretching out when you're working with a curved area of fabric. So don't miss that out, it is a really important step. For the version that I made, the next step is actually binding the opening of the pockets and then sewing the pockets on. Now I did want to just stop at this point and explain what I did. I wanted to pattern match the pockets because I thought with it being such a bold design, I didn't want my patch pockets on the front to not blend in with the dress. I wanted them to almost be unnoticeable. So in order to pattern match, what I did was I laid out my front dress piece, the fabric. I got some tracing paper, so I used Swedish tracing paper. I traced off the pocket piece, pattern piece. I then pinned it onto where it would be sitting on the dress front. So I chose one side first, and I then with a pen traced through some of the design. Now I didn't trace the whole thing because it would have taken me absolutely ages, but I just traced out some key bits from around the edges of the pocket, then a couple in the middle, just enough so then I could place that on the fabric that I had left and match it up, hopefully, in order to then cut out my pocket piece that would blend into my dress. So I did that absolutely fine. And then I did the same on the other side. So we are putting in some pictures to show you that process, but I'll just show you my pattern piece. I actually ended up using both sides of it. So I've got two different pen types. So there you can see this was my second side where I've used the thick black pen, and I just picked out some of the design enough so that I could then place that on top of my fabric and line it all up and cut out my pocket piece. You might not be able to see, but there's also biro, which was my first side that I did. So yeah, that worked out really, really well, and still with my 1 metre of fabric I managed to pattern match the pockets, I think, extremely well. We'll put in a close-up for you to see. Obviously the pockets are top stitched around, so there is a line of stitching, but in terms of the design of the dress it all blends in. Now I wasn't able to pattern match the side seams because I just didn't have enough fabric, and to be honest I wasn't so fussed about that because it's down the sides of my body, but I thought the patch pockets on the front it was quite important to pattern match because I thought it would have looked really weird otherwise. So then, just to show you an example of where I was talking about Helen giving advice for maybe a less experienced and a more experienced sewist. So in terms of attaching the pockets onto the dress, obviously it's a very curved edge, so you need to press that in, but you don't want to end up with jaggedy edges. So for beginners, she suggests doing a line of basting stitches and then gathering that by pulling the threads, and for advanced she suggests sewing on your overlocker, having the differential feed turned up to slightly gather it before you can turn it to the wrong side. Which option did I go for? I went for just a line of gathering stitches. So the next step was to sew the shoulder seams and the side seams, and you could then finish the seams in your preferred method. Now I chose to French seam the shoulder seams and the side seams because I quite like that as a finish. I thought that was quite an easy thing to do, and I could have overlocked the seams, but I wasn't sure what colours I wanted to use because they obviously would be visible, so I just decided to French seam. So the seam allowances on the York Pinafore are 5/8 of an inch, so I first of all sewed at 2/8 of an inch, wrong sides together, and then pressed the other way and sewed at 3/8 of an inch, right sides together, and that gave me my lovely French seam. Then I did decide to top stitch that down just for it to sit nicely, so down the side seams I've got a line of top stitching just to keep that French seam nice and neat. So then what you've got to do after that is your bias binding. So you bias bind the neckline and also the armholes, and although that takes a little bit of effort and it takes a little bit of time, it gives such a beautiful finish. I just think it's really worth it. It looks so neat and beautiful on the inside. So I'm really, really pleased with how that has turned out. And then the last bit is to hem, and you hem simply by turning it up again and top stitching around, and then you have your finished pinafore. I found the whole process actually really calming. I really enjoyed making it, taking my time with the bias binding, pressing everything and just seeing it all come together. I found it really satisfying. So I definitely would recommend it. I would say it definitely is a beginner's or a beginner friendly pattern. There's so much advice in the booklet that there's nothing to worry about in terms of getting stuck on a step. It's all there for you. I love as well in Helen's booklet that she's got a sewing glossary. So she's got a whole A4 page there of definitions for words, so things like stay stitching, true up, understitching, grain line. She explains everything. She also gives you a section where you can add notes, so for next time what you would do differently or what adjustments you might have to make. I'm really happy with the size of my pinafore. I think the sizing has come out really well. As I said earlier, it's not supposed to be really tight fitting because you do need to be able to get it over your head and also to layer it over things. So it does have that ease built into it, and I'm really happy with that and how it fits on me. If you have maybe not thought about sewing the York Pinafore, but now you might be tempted, that would be fantastic. If you go over to Instagram and search the hashtag York Pinafore, you'll find so many amazing versions that have been made in a whole range of fabric, on a whole range of different body types and ages, and you can see how it looks on somebody that looks like you or somebody that you just find inspiring. I would really recommend it. A great layering piece, a great essential for your wardrobe, and I'm definitely going to get lots of wear out of it in autumn and winter. Can't think if there's anything else I need to say on that, or if that's it. One thing I would say is that this scoop neckline is taking a little bit of getting used to. I'm not used to having something so dramatically scooped, so that is taking a bit of getting used to, but I think I am happy with it. I do like it. I am going to make a couple more tops to layer underneath this and other things this autumn, so they might not all have that high neck, some of them might be a bit lower necked. It is taking a little bit of getting used to, but I am really happy with it. Thank you to everyone that voted for this to be the garment that I made, because I'm really delighted that I have. It's super comfortable and I love it. One thing I did want to say is then I did have a little bit of fabric left from my 1 metre, and I decided to make a matching hair scrunchie. So I'll just show you, but I'll put an actual better picture in a second. So here we go. So it's a hair scrunchie made out of the same fabric from my Pinafore. I followed a tutorial on YouTube by Cut One Pair, who is Louise and Jenny, and they work at Tilly and the Buttons, and they've done a YouTube tutorial on how to make scrunchies, and it's so simple, so straightforward. I whipped it up in probably 5 minutes, you know, maybe 10 at a push. So yeah, it's a great thing to do once you finish a garment, just whip up a matching hair scrunchie. How fantastic's that? So I hope you've enjoyed hearing about my experience with the York Pinafore. As I said, I'm really delighted with the make. I probably will make another one because it takes so little fabric and it is great and versatile for layering, which I love. Helen's Closet patterns are excellent. Every one that I've tried I've found to be really good in terms of fit and in terms of the instructions. And Helen also has so much content on her blog giving you styling ideas and hacks and things like that. So I would recommend going and checking out Helen's website. I will link it down below as well. So thank you so much for watching today. I will be back very soon with the next episode in Shop My Stash. So I'm going to pick out another 3 fabrics and another 3 patterns that I haven't used yet, and I'm going to ask for your help to choose which one I make next. So I hope you all get involved in that again. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe and hit the notification bell if you'd like to know when my next video goes up. I hope you're all really well and happy sewing. Bye! Probably missed something out that's really important, but let's not worry about that.